Can I share my present?
Yes, yes.
Uh, is it okay?
Yeah, it's visible. Fine.
Um, so this is my institute. I hope our then director, Dr. Vijay Mohan Pillai, he has introduced our institute and what the work we are doing it right now. And he was my mentor during my period of work on supercapacitor. I have visited his lab and done some few work also. So our headquarters is situated in Delhi under Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. It is formerly called CSIR. It was established during 1942, and we have 38 national laboratories all over the country with various spectrum of economic, industrial, and societal sectors. The R&D activities covers fields from aerospace engineering, ocean sciences, molecular biology to metallurgy, chemicals, mining, food, leather, road research, whatnot. Whichever you like, you can have our institute all over in India. And we have your well-known CLRA Central Leather Research Institute, which is situated, our sister concern, which is situated in Chennai. And near to Coimbatore, we have our headquarters, Central Electrochemical Research Institute, Karaikuri. And we have a zonal lab at Chennai, Taramani. We have 5 units, which are all, something is blinking. Is it okay, Dr. Pampangyan?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay, we have Central Electrochemical Research Institute, our branch, and along with that we have the CERI, Electronics and Electricals, and CSIO, Central Scientific and Instrumentation Organization, Environmental Research and National Metallurgical Laboratory, NML, and we have our Central Structural Engineering Research Center, SCRC, as the headquarters at Taramani branch. So, my topic today is materials for energy storage devices. Otherwise, how supercapacitors helps to store energy. Uh, so, in that, we need secure, reliable electricity supply 24 hours a day. And we also need to make more use of renewable energy sources such as solar and wind to reduce our reliance on non-renewable fossil fuels such as oil and gas. But it is not so easy to just switch over to using solar and wind for all our energy needs. This the clouds sometimes pass the sun, the wind gust fast, and sometimes it is slow. So this means that solar power and wind power are not always available when it is needed. Hence, the solution to this problem lies in energy storage. So by storing the energy generated from solar and wind power in reliable, powerful batteries, we can have a power supply that is which is available 24/7 without costing the earth. So energy storage plays an important role in balancing act and helps to create a more flexible and reliable grid system. For example, when there is more supply than demand, such as during night when low-cost power plants continue to operate, the excess electricity generation can be used to power store energy. So in that aspect, capacitors. We must be knowing about the conventional capacitors. These capacitors use static electricity, nothing but electrostatic, rather than a chemistry to store energy. Inside a capacitor, we know that there are two conducting metal plates with an insulating material called a dielectric in between them. It's a dielectric sandwich. If you prefer, it is only a dielectric. So, charging a capacitor is a bit like rubbing a balloon on your jumper to make it sticky. So, positive and negative electrical charges build up on the plates, and the separation between them, which prevents them coming into the contact, which that stores the energy. Hence, the dielectric allows a capacitor of a certain size to store more charge at a time.
Kalpana, 1 minute. The audience, please switch off your videos. And also, one of the participants is behaving some illegally. I don't know. He's wearing some banian and sitting in front of the video. Morning session also, I have seen that he's following the same way. If he's like that, he will be removed from the class, next class onwards. Jagadish or something, his name. So please switch off your videos. Okay, don't switch on your video during the lecture time. Okay, if you ask any question, you please switch on the video. Otherwise, except the speaker, you please switch off all your videos. Now the another person, Safar. Who is Safar? Safar. We don't have to see all your labs. You are drinking water, and these are the things we don't have to watch. You are removed from the class right now. Okay, I can remove him like that. Please, all the participants, please be switch off your videos during the class hours. Please give respect to the teachers. Okay, this is not the way to do like this in the classes. Okay, please continue, Dr. Kalpana.
So the principle behind the conventional capacitor is when a voltage is applied to the wires attached to the conducting surfaces, charges are bumped from one surface to the other, leaving one of the surfaces positively charged. We all know about it. So when the capacitor is charged, energy is stored in the dielectric material in the form of electrostatic. Okay, and the fundamental equation, what we derive from this is the capacitance is directly proportional to the area of the electrode. And indirectly, I mean, the capacitance is proportional to the directly proportional to the electrode surface area, and the energy is proportional to the capacitance. So maximum power is limited by the internal resistance of the capacitor. Okay, so this is figure shows how supercapacitor charges and discharges. Okay, so the difference between conventional capacitor and supercapacitor is that ordinary capacitor in two important ways. So its plates effectively have a much bigger area, and the distance between them is make smaller because the separator between them works in a different way to a conventional dielectric. But in a supercapacitor, there is no dielectric as such. Instead, both plates are soaked in an electrolyte and separated by a very thin insulator, which might be made up of carbon, paper, or any plastic. So when the plates are charged up, an opposite charge from on either side of the separator, creating what is called a dielectric double layer. So this is a double layer forming during charging and discharging. So the advantage of supercapacitor is it extends battery time, it provides backup power, it culls pulse current, it allows high and low temperature operation, it minimizes space requirements, it reduces the battery size because the area is very thin. So it meets environmental standards. Okay? And the left side diagram graph shows that difference between accumulator and the battery and the capacitor. The battery will take longer time to charge and a longer time to discharge, whereas the supercapacitor can be charged and discharged in even in nanoseconds. So this is the double layer form. And the property of supercapacitors varies between capacitor and the battery. So as I said, it will take longer time to charge and discharge. The operating temperature would be minus 40 to 85 degrees Celsius. And the capacitance will be of 100 microfarad even to 2 farads. Life of since electric EDFC doesn't have any no chemical reactions involved, no Faraday reactions involved. The life of a supercapacitor is more than lakh cycles, whereas for batteries it is 150 to 1500 cycles. Even the weight, when you use the carbon material, it would be around 1 gram to 2 grams, whereas for batteries, we know not generally we used to have heavy metals. Okay. And the major difference between a battery and a supercapacitor is the power density will be very high for a capacitor, and energy density will be of the order of 8 to 600, very high for a battery. And it has very high cell voltage, it has high power density. I have already explained. This Ragone plot shows that this supercapacitor bridges the gap between conventional capacitors and the batteries. So it depends upon the material used. The supercapacitor is grouped into three types. One is electric AA capacitors, pseudo capacitors, and hybrid capacitors. Carbons, activated carbons, carbon aerogels, and carbon nanotubes, single wall carbon and multi wall carbon. These are all coming under EDLC. And conducting polymers such as polypyrrole, polyaniline, polythiophene, they are all coming under pseudocapacitor. Metal oxide like ruthenium oxide, iridium oxide were used, which are giving high capacitance during high capacitance. Since they are toxic, nowadays transition metal oxide like nickel, Mn, titanium, SN, this kind of metal oxides are also used under this category. And the hybrid capacitors, like we have composite, asymmetric, and battery type hybrids. We know very well that asymmetric in the sense there are positive and negative electrodes, both will be different. And composite means it's a mixture of carbon and conducting polymers or even metal oxides. Battery type is one type of battery-like material will be acting as a cathode, and another carbon will be acting as a anode. And this is the hybrid which connects or which gives synergistic effect from a battery and electric double layer source. So this is the thing I have explained. And why we are going behind this activated carbon? So activated carbon is a material derived mostly from charcoal that has been treated with oxygen, creating many tiny pores between the carbon atoms. So generally, in a bulk level or in a huge level, the activated carbons are prepared from charcoals or from that's coconut shells. But nowadays, people started working activated carbon in any form, even bio waste or agriculture waste or from any waste materials, even from e-waste. So this activated carbon has been classified into 7 types, like powdered, granular, extruded, bead activated, impregnated, polymer coated, and carbon cloth. This is some kind of pictures shown regarding this powdered, granular, and pelleted form. So we know very well that the applications of activated carbon includes mainly for water treatment, which is unavoidable nowadays, air treatment, gas purification, gold purification, metal extraction, gas, even filter mask, etc. And what is the importance of activated carbon EDLC? This is the thing, it takes us to the research for activated carbon from biomaterials. The first thing is it exhibits high surface area. The surface area even up to 2,500 meters square per gram as in the powder form, woven cloths, even as a fibers. So as of now, it is very low in cost effective. It has high electrical conductivity. The electrode production technology is very well established, and charge storage is predominantly capacitive rather than heat inducing Faradic reactions. So the EDLC with this activated carbon is the thickness of the double layer depends on the concentration of the electrolyte and on the ion and on the size of the ions. So the porous electrodes achieve high capacitance. Okay, and these are all some of the properties of electrochemical capacitors with carbon cloth, activated carbon, aerogel, and all. I think these are all references you can obtain from anywhere. When you Google it, you will get it. And this property varies when you change the electrolytes from KOH to acid to alkali. The property completely changes, and even ionic liquids, capacitors are also available. So, as I told you, I just wanted to tell something about the work. Previously, I worked on that. So initially, I have started with this paper work, waste newspaper. I have prepared activated carbon out of it. So we know very well that about in day-to-day life, about 1/5 of the contents of household dustbins consist of paper and any cardboard, in which half of is newspapers and magazines. So this is almost equivalent to over 4 kg of waste paper per household each one. So normally, the scenario is this household, the average person produces almost 1 ton of waste per year. So that this will be collected in a municipal landfill, and over time, the waste generates landfill gas, which contains greenhouse gases and chemicals that contribute to water and the air pollution. So this landfill gas is renewable energy that can be collected and processed to provide earth-friendly energy. And hence, as I told you, it is very easy to segregate from waste stream among this newspaper, boxboard, white newspaper, color paper, envelopes. Those days, when I was doing this, it was really a wonderful and exciting work. How come this waste newspaper gives an energy material, a waste material, giving a valuable energy source? So the advantage is that it is easy to segregate from waste stream. It is relatively homogeneous because when you sell the waste paper, English newspaper is 5 rupees per kg, and the Tamil newspaper is somewhat 3 rupees per kg. It is because of we may say that the texture and quality. Yes, of course, it matters too. The Tamil newspaper sometimes, it is very porous. You could see practically in the water spills on it, it easily absorbs. That shows the absorbability. And even the English newspaper, a silky and a soft touch one will not absorb much. It shows the porosity and nature of the paper. So it requires minimum processing to be converted into densified form of energy. When it is heated, the value is fairly high, and when it is densified, it has excellent storage characteristics. I have given some values of gross calorific value, and it is almost 7,540 for a newspaper. So the aim of the work is to provide waste to valuable energy systems. So we have used the newspaper, and the method is as simple as possible. You can get this preparation techniques from the paper. I think this has been published in Power Sources during 2006 or 7 maybe. So this is very easy. The newspaper is cut into small pieces. We have added KOH for KOH and soaked into 4 days, and we have paralyzed at 600 degrees Celsius and nitrogen atmosphere. We washed up to the pH is 7 and drying at 110 degrees Celsius, and we will get a pure activator carbon. So this is how we prepare our electrode. We will cut into one by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter geometrical area, and we sandwich the separator between anode and the cathode. So we have taken this activated carbon from waste newspaper as an anode and cathode material, and a binder, a current collector is a non-corrosive stainless steel 314, and a separate polypropylene separator, and we have used 0.1 molar of sulfuric acid as an electrolyte. So this is the lab scale technique, how we prepared a supercapacitor as a device. And then, there are many conductive diagnostic devices to characterize physically and electrochemically. So this is a well-known conducting measurement. We have used a workstation, and then we can find out the solution resistance, bulk capacitance, electrode capacitance, bulk resistance from this Nyquist plot, and the conductivity can be obtained from this equation. So this is the formula we have involved in this work. So as I told you, these are the physical characterizations and electrochemical characterizations we have used. And to our surprise, when we did elemental analysis, this carbon, this paper-based newspaper has a carbon content of 71.358% and 78.70 atomic weight percentage. So when we did this CHN analysis, the carbon content was for a paper ash, it was 34.39. This is what interesting one. Only when you just burn the paper and it will become an ash, right? So when we have taken this CHN analysis for a paper ash, it is only 34.39. When we activated, it was around 78. So this is the FTR analysis. You know that these are all and up to 1.10. Dr. Panpandian, are you?
Please, yes, please.
I think something is blinking from my display. Is it okay?
Here it is okay, fine.
I don't know. Somehow it is blinking and.
It is FTIR paper as that slide, no? No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fine, it's fine. Okay.
Okay, so we could find some hydroxyl group and asymmetric stretching of silicon and oxygen bond. And then this is a typical TJ and thermal gravimetric analysis. You know very well that at 100, around 100 degrees Celsius, the water will go out, and then we could get some effect of pyrolysis conditions uh, because of this weight loss. And the typical XRD, NEA, BET analysis, surface analysis. And this is the SEM of paper ash, and this is after activation. So you could see the particle diameter is in the range of 200 to 500 nanometer. The particles are more compact and uniformly distributed, and there is a good network interconnected, good network of interconnected pores, and these pores are in the size of nanometers. So this is after 3 lakh cycle. We have cycled up to 3 lakhs, and even after 3 lakhs, it was working. You could see the good connectivity. And this is a typical cyclic voltammogram generally. And from this current and scan rate, we can find out the specific capacitance of capacitor. So we have also obtained a typical, not typical, almost rectangular type cyclic voltammetry with different scan rates. So it shows a high current in the potential sweep, and this is the self discharge, which is very minimum. And this specific capacitance of 160 farads per gram is calculated from CB, and the galvas this capacity is also almost stable even up to 2,500 cycles. So this is the formula we have used. I think after this I will share my PPT. To conclude, this mesoporous activated carbon produced from waste newspaper by KOH activation is a very useful electrode material for a supercapacitor, and it gave a maximum of 160 farads per gram with a good cycle stability, and it has a good high surface area and a good pore diameter. So I think this kind of material you can also think of because nowadays we should be thinking of 3 Rs: recycle, reuse, and reduce. So in that aspect, you can also think of making a waste material into a valuable energy storage system. So next one is camphor carbon nanobits, a new electrode material for supercapacitor. This paper has also been published in I think also. Okay, so okay, before going into that, I would also like to share one of my recent works. That is, we have collected some mushroom compost. China is the major production of mushroom, and the Chinese will consume more number of more mushrooms as they are protein rich in their leaves. So it is like tons and tons of mushrooms will be cultivated, and after cultivation, the compost will be kept waste, and that waste are used for landfill or to feed some animals, and after that, they don't know how to. You make use of this mushroom waste compost. They don't know how to reduce the compost and how to recycle it. There are some papers in that, and they have wisely used and recycled this compost for some methanol. Some work. I'm sorry, I don't remember that. So we thought, why don't we make use of that as an active material for fuel cells work? So we have used this kind of work for our fuel cell as well as supercapacitor. This fuel cell work has been published. So we have taken and we have obtained this waste mushroom from a vendor from Kolattur. We have collected that compost. The compost is mainly composed of Baikol. We know that, right? straws, Vicol, and all fibers only. And it is well moistured. It is very fibrous. So after we collecting, we have just washed it very well and dried in the sunlight for more than 24 hours, and we crushed with the mixture. This is the substrate we got it. And after that, as usual, we have done activated procedure. We have obtained a very good activated carbon of around 800 farads meter square per gram, 800 meters per gram surface area. We have done routine Raman spectra for its nature, and then we have made a supercapacitor electrode, and we have obtained a very good specific capacitance. And we have activated this carbon into 3 temperatures like 700, 800, 900, below which it was not properly proper. It was not a good proper powder. It was very sticky. We have faced some practical issues. So we have optimized this 700, 800, 900 degrees Celsius, and we achieved some good performance with a good surface area around for 800 degrees Celsius activated carbon. So this activated carbon can be prepared from many natural resources, so like bamboo, rice hull, coconut shell, woods, plant shell, and camphor. Even your Bardar University, Dr. Kalaiselvan, has numerous work on activated carbon from water hyacinth, tamarind shell, whatnot. Almost he has done. He has covered all the materials. Because the usual properties, as I told, it has high surface area. It works very well with the non-aqueous electrolyte. It has excellent strip cyclability, and even with good specific capacitance. So camphor is a very good molecular. It has a good molecular structure. So this is the structure of camphor. This idea came to my mind when I went for a temple. So I could see the Karuvare was full of black, and every time they are very struggling to clean it up. So I thought, why don't we make use of that carbon to an active material for a capacitor? So that is how the idea came, and the preparation techniques is as easy as I've explained, like mixed carbon. And this is the same way we have prepared electrode for a capacitor. And we have used 0.1 molar sulfuric acid as electrolyte. So these are all some physical electrochemical properties. And same thing, that gravimetric analysis. So from DSC also we have done. So you could see that 658 degrees Celsius, the P corresponds to the evaluation of hydrogen from the material. So I think this carbon nano beads, I will show you why I'm telling it's a beads. So it has a good thermal stability. So this is the X-ray spectrum. From Scherer formula, we found grain sizes about 600 nanometer. And this is the thing, SEM analysis. So this SEM right side, this shows these materials are very regular in shape, and there are good network in porosity. And this is the beads I mentioned. So it typically a bead kind of a thing. And this is of 40 nanometer size. So this camphor has a high carbon content of 92.81 percentage elemental composition, and this even the carbon hydrogen molar ratio is around 4.2. So the bed surface area analysis shows 79.6, around 80 meters square per gram. But even then, since it has a good network, it is good connectivity. This carbon nano beads from this camphor has given maximum capacitance. I will show you that. So this is the FTIR spectrum. Not much to tell. And this is a typical Nyquist plot. So in this, you can see the solution resistance is very minimum, around 1.2 ohms, and this even the double layer capacitance is around 26 millifarad per gram. This is the specific capacitance. cyclic voltammogram, and we have obtained a 14 farads per gram at 200 millivolt per second scan rate. So I think, and the energy density is around 1.37 whatever per kg, as the potential window is very wide from minus 1.8 to plus 1.8. And the power density is also increased around 568 whatever per kg, which is higher than the reported value. And this is a typical charge discharge cycle. And we have run this at 1 milliamp per centimeter square current density. The Coulombic efficiency is a bit high. I mean, the moderate. It is 85%, and it has good stability. We have cycled up to 1 lakh. And during that, we could obtain a minimum IR drop in that. So this is the conclusion. And this is also another interesting work. One of my MSc students, she has done that. It is also, I'm discussing and I'm sharing all the activated carbon part of work only alone. Doesn't mean that I have not worked beyond it. I've also worked, but for this session, I have taken only activated carbon, because even in classes in the afternoon, in the afternoon taking class for the students is very, because they may sleep, and virtually I'm taking class. I don't know whether you are listening or you're keeping your video audio mute and you've gone somewhere or to sleep. To make you interesting, so I'm sharing all this activated carbon work so that you will also get some idea. So we have taken, this is actually a person from Singapore. He has contacted me that I have earlier published a paper on this. Based on that, they contacted me whether they are taking the vitamin oils from the orange peel. They will be collecting orange peels from the juice shops. And when you crush, you will get a itchy, irritating oil. No, that is very much useful. It's a vitamin oil. It seems they are scaling up, and they are collecting in a very high, very large level. They run a factory out of it, and after taking vitamin oil, they don't know what to do with that compost. I said, I'm very much available. I can make it into a carbon. So he contacted me and he asked me to work out of it. The interesting part is, see, we are thinking that eating an orange is good for health, but after eating, we are throwing. The thing is, after the peel off, even Dr. Ponpande used to tease me during my PhD time that I will be considered. Dr. Ponpande, remember that I will be running a factory out of orange peel. So in that way, what your words come true, that still I am working on the peels of fruits. So this orange peel, it's unimaginary that this peels gives, suppose if you are taking 1 kg of peels, it gives hardly 10 gram, less than 10 grams of the powder. So even in that oranges, there are many varieties, like starting from Australian orange to Kamala orange and normal Satupuri and many things. So we have collected somewhat a good orange, so that we will eat the fruit and we can collect peels from out of it. So we have taken 1 kg of orange. We ate all the oranges and we washed routinely. And we dried and we cut into small pieces. My student, she's very smart. She has cut into a very sincere, and she has cut even the pieces also in a very scalable unit. She cut it and she dried it at 100 degrees Celsius and made it to grind it properly. Even that grinding was very uniform in size. And after that, she put it into a mixture. Even the peas also counted a lot. The RPM is also counted. Then after that, we have impregnated with KOH, pyrox, and we washed with acid wash, and then finally we got activated carbon. So this is the usual peak. Don't think that whatever you burn, whatever you take material will burn will give you carbon. It's not easy. Just because I'm sharing all kind of fields and carbon material, you can take it as a challenge, and it will be quite interesting. There are more things to go around. So this is a typical carbon peak we have found, and this is the same image. So we have observed the surface morphology is very uniform. We have got a bit of KOH in that, and we have washed properly, and so that the KOH has gone completely. This is a CV of activated carbon from orange peel. So it was, and we have done with the various scan rates. This is a typical behavior. So the capacitance of the cell decreases linearly. We know that in the current density cases. So this is the work with Dr. Kalai Selvan. I'm very proud to share this. So he has done this flexible, solid-state flexible fiber capacitor with the different shapes. This is the material called agave americana. It is kind of a chapati curly. So he has derived activated carbon out of it, and they performed the device of a supercapacitor. So see, as I told you, it is quite interesting. This linear, zigzag, and spiral capacitor, each and every capacitor is showing different properties and different capacitance. And this is how I can find out this from the paper. And this, they charged the capacitor from solar panel. And this is a discharge behavior. So next part is on metal oxides. We know very well that SnO2 is a very good electrode material for even a battery as well as supercapacitor. So we have added cobalt into it, and a small addition of cobalt, how it improves the electrochemical activity of SnO2. So I will skip all these things. So, Dr. Ponpandian, how much? Hello? Dr. Ponpandian? Can I proceed? Okay, anyway. So
Madam, you can proceed, madam.
Yeah, okay. So I can take up to 30, right? I think.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes.
So the tin chloride is added with 0.1 molar of sodium hydroxide with the CTAP, and we have hydrothermally treated at 150 degrees Celsius for 24 hours. We have washed with distilled water, we dried at 16 degrees Celsius. This is as simple as possible, and this experimental method preparation techniques is available in all the literatures. So this is how we do characterization techniques. And then by using the Scherer formula, we could get, we have calculated the grain size of 2.3 nanometer. And then this is the beautiful morphology of SnO2. So this addition of this first one, A figure, is as prepared powder. And when we add CO cobalt in increasing each way in the term by term. So this the structure is enlarging, and this is the TEM image. The products are mainly well dispersed submicron spheres that indicates a high crystallinity of the material. This outer surface is constructed of many small nanoclusters which have been rapidly grown from the center of the spheres and resulting in the formation of hierarchical structure. So the size of the composite particles also decrease with increase in cobalt content. So this is the main result we have got. The size of the composite particles decreases, we increase the cobalt content. So we have obtained the rectangular shape behavior of SnO2 by using cyclophotometry, and it gave a maximum capacitance of So 840 farads per gram at 10 millimole per second, and with the energy density of 84 watt-hour per kg, the high potential window of 0.8 to 1 volt. And we have obtained specific capacitance from current versus scan rate. And this is a typical symmetrical charge discharge cycles at 1 milliamp per centimeter current density in 0.1 molar sulfuric acid. So it gives a coulombic efficiency of 85% with a good stability, and we have run up to 10,000 cycles with a minimum IR drop. The power density, energy density, coulombic efficiency can be obtained from this equations. This is some of the metal oxides, not from me or from a lab. So this is just to share. From metal oxides, we can get this kind of nano class, nano shape. You can play with the preparation technique also. You can see that fiber, flour, and then crystal type materials, metal oxides. And this is the nano metal, nano flour. So this nanostructured metal oxides with FeO2, COO2, MnO2, and chromium. These were fabricated under microwave irradiation conditions in pure water without using any reducing capping reagent. The metal oxide self-assembled into octahedron spheres, triangular rods, spine, and hexagonal slope-like three-dimensional morphologies. And this is the beautiful nano roses. And this kind of nano roses are used for gas sensor research. And then the last part is new low-cost, high-power polyanicidine co-metallic acid activated carbon electrode for supercapacitor. So I think I've in the earlier at the start of my speech, I was telling supercapacitors are grouped into 3 types based on the materials we have used. One is activated carbon, another is metal oxide, and another one is conducting polymers. Among the conducting polymers, polyaniline, polypyrrole, polythiophene, polythiophene are used as activating material for supercapacitors. So the polymers are molecules which consist of a long repeating chain of smaller units called monomers. The copolymer is polymer derived from 2 different monomer species. So copolymerization refers to methods used to synthesize a copolymer. So this is the types of copolymers: homopolymers, alternative copolymers, random copolymers, and blot copolymers. So this is about the conducting polymers. The backbone of the pi bonds in the backbone of the conducting polymers means conducts the electricity. So and then this is the conducting polymers for supercapacitor. These are advantages and the principle. So polyaniline and its derivatives have distinct advantages as the chemically flexible NH group in the polymer backbone will not take part in the protonation and deprotonation, but it contributes pi bond formation, thus ensuring good environmental stability. So this is the this has a high redox and capacitive current. It is very easy to prepare. They are all cost effective and good reversibility. And they are electrically conductive also. So this is the advantage of electrochemical copolymerization. It is very easy to control the thickness of the deposit. No catalyst is involved, and the doping of the polymer with the desired ions can be achieved simultaneously by changing the nature of the counter ions in the solution. It is an easy way of preparing new class of polymers to tailor-made specifically desired property. So the electrochemical copolymerization techniques is widely used in conducting polymers for better electrochemical response. Sorry. Okay, so sorry. Okay. So these are the preparatory techniques. We have used potentiostatic techniques among the potentiostatic, potential dynamic, galvanostatic method. You know very well that copolymerization can be done in these 3 techniques. So the general parameters are the mixture of monomers is in the molar concentration of 1:3, and we have used molar concentration of 0.1 molar in 0.1 molar sulfuric acid with the time of 15 minutes, and mild steel as a working electrode, platinum as a counter electrode. And the objective is to use cost-effective, commonly used stainless steel metallic substrate for potential dynamic electrode deposition, and to characterize the surface morphology. To compare with plain activator carbon, initially we have taken the stainless steel. Over that we have applied activator carbon, and on that we have electrode chemically deposited polyanethylene, and to evaluate the cyclic performance with the 0.1 molar sulfuric acid. So this is the technique we have used. This is a typical CV plot in the sweep rate of 0.1 molar sodium sulfate solution. So the cyclic photometer recorded during the electrode deposition of polyethylene on activator carbon coated stainless steel substrate. So this right side figure is the comparison of CV of first initial one is black one is activated carbon, and the rose color is polyaniline, and the green one is polyaniline alone. So okay, so this peak, in this during electrode deposition, we have obtained this redox peak. This is due to lipo-emeraldine and to emeraldine transition, and this is the surface morphology. This consists of small particles with a nano size of 500 to 100 nanometer, and this composite, that is polyaniline with activator carbon composite, have been morphology of high surface area, which enhance electrical conductivity. The high porosity was suggested to be a key parameter for obtaining high power densities. This is the impedance analysis. So, solution resistance, ohmic resistance, and then this charge transfer resistance, they all obtained from this impedance plot. And the Warburg behavior seen in the spectrum is due to the diffusion, control, doping, and de-doping anions. And this is cycled at 5 milliamp per centimeter square current density with a window of 1 volt. I think, and it is cycled up to 2000 cycles. It was giving good capacitance, and you could see the blue line, and I mean, for a carbon, there was some drop near 600 cycles, but otherwise it shows a typical symmetric behavior. This is a cyclic voltammogram for different scan rates. The discussion is when you deposit a high surface area carbon, the polymer film will grow layer by layer, and there will be an adhesive force between the polymer film and the activated carbon. Usually, when we have tried with stainless steel alone, and it was peeling it off, the deposition was not sticky, it was not stable after some cycles with different scan rates. First, initially we have deposited without the carbon, and with the activated carbon, as I said, the deposition was deposited layer by layer, and it was not peeling it off, as there is a good adhesive force between one layer to other layer. So we made a capacitor out of it with the polyaniline activated carbon based supercapacitor, which was giving 1.96 volt. This is the conclusion. So the last part is graphene nanosheet with cobalt oxide polyaniline. It's a hybrid supercapacitor. So we know in supercapacitor, two symmetric capacitors are connected in series. When two symmetric capacitors are connected in series, the total capacitance will be half. So 1 by C total is equal to 1 by C plus 1 by C. So automatically the total capacitance will be C by Q. But whereas in a hybrid capacitor, one of the electrodes is replaced by a battery electrode. So we can get the total capacitance of the single capacitor electrode with the added advantage of the battery electrode. This is how hybrid capacitor works. So, what is the novelty of this work is we are taking graphene, cobalt oxide, and polyaniline. Graphene is giving high thermal, it gives high thermal conductivity, it is superior in mechanical properties, it has large surface area to volume ratio, and it is unusual, it has unusual electronic properties. Whereas when you take cobalt oxide, it is relatively free, it has high redox capacity, and has a theoretical specific capacitance of around 3000 mAh per gram with a great reversibility. And the polyaniline I've just shown you, it has high capacitance, good environmental stability, cost effective, and very easy to prepare. So with that, we made this hybrid capacitor in this method. And graphene, we have chosen this modified Hummer method. This is the cell assembly, and these are all the method steps we have taken. These are XRD. I think I'm very. This is the FAR spectrum. It shows stretching. Stretching and bending characteristics, and this is the CV with the working electrode of cobalt oxide, counter electrode PT. In 0.1 molar sulfuric acid, you could see the redox behavior. And then this is the left side graph. It shows this red color is only with the cobalt oxide, and blue color is cobalt oxide with the surfactant, and the pink color is cobalt oxide with graphene. The green one is the composite, the hybrid. That is cobalt oxide, graphene with polyaniline. And we have, for this, we obtained maximum capacitance, and the maximum capacitance is 1250 farads per gram for the hybrid material. And this is the SEM picture and TEM picture of single pani, graphene oxide, and the composite. And this charge research cycle is typically showing the battery cum capacitor behavior, and it gives stable specific capacitance, stable specific capacitance of specific capacitance around 1250 farads per gram at 45 milliamp per centimeter square. Sorry, 4 milliamp per centimeter square. So these results imply that this cobalt oxide with the graphene and pani composite can be a potential candidate for supercapacitor. So with that, with this, I would like to thank again my senior, Dr. Ponpandian, for giving me this opportunity to share my